your laws off me. I'm not your property. Don't plan my family, I plan my own. I don't want to be in your theocracy. Remember liberty, remember Rose.
Time reconciling the lives of women that have been forced to endure simply because they were not afforded the same rights and protections of their husbands, their sons, and their brothers. It is time for this to end. And I am very proud of New York's governor, our Governor Cuomo, who has drawn open the curtain, exposing for everyone, whether they like it or not, all of the issues that have been ignored for far too long. These issues, the inequalities of gender, have continued to permeate our workplace, legal system, society, and community, our families and our bodies, keeping the women of New York separate from standing alongside their husbands, sons, and brothers because of a male-dominated system. And forgive me for adding that because there are a lot of males here that are not dominating that system, but trying to help us with ours.
When do we want equality?
Now!
When will we stop the fight for equality?
Never!
By passing the Women's Equality Agenda in its entirety, we citizens can make a concerted effort to bring discrimination to an end for women in the most essential areas of our lives. Governor Cuomo, legislators in Albany, be leaders. Break down the barriers women face. Enable women to make economic security, be more economic secure, and control over their own futures. Make sure this legislation passes in its entirety. It will be good for women, it will be good for families, and it will be good for New York.
Here we are, 2013, talking about the Women's Equality Act. And boy, doesn't this just make sense. You look at all of the points, and it is about human rights, and it impacts all of us. Equal pay for men and women for equal work. It just makes sense. When you look at human trafficking and strengthening the laws so that those who participate in that economy, that underbelly of our society, that those are called to justice. We must pass the Women's Equality Act because
it just makes sense.
When we look at sexual harassment in the workplace, it should not matter that you are an employer with 2 employees or 2,000. You should be under the same law, which is no tolerance for sexual harassment in the workplace. We must pass the Women's Equality Act because
it just makes sense.
Now, at Alternatives for Battered Women, of course, there are several provisions in this act which relate near and dear to our heart. In terms of domestic violence, strengthening court orders of protection, what this would do is, one, not have it be that if a woman violates her own court order of protection, which happens, domestic violence is complicated. If she violates it, right now she can go to jail. She can be brought up on charges. This act will make it so a woman cannot be charged for violating her own protection. It also strengthens court order of protection by allowing the use of technology and the use of teleconferencing in accessing a temporary court order of protection. We must pass the Women's Equality Act because
it just makes sense.
Also, domestic violence, that in this law, it would put into law that if the victim of domestic violence the right to lease, rent, or own property because of their status as a victim. Right now, there are not protections except for Monroe County, thank you. We are a leader in the state. In Monroe County, we have this, but our sisters and brothers around the state do not have the same protections. We must pass the Women's Equality Act because
it just makes sense.
And yet, friends, all of these points impact the lives of victims of domestic violence, because when we have inequality, we have power and control, and that is where violence thrives. All of these points matter. All of these points count. We must pass the Women's Equality Act because
it just makes sense.
Please support this agenda. It affects women with money. It affects women without money. It affects women with privilege, and it affects women with no privilege.
It is a comprehensive civil rights, feminist, pro-choice, peace and justice organizations. The key to our success is indeed found in the breadth and depth of this coalition. It is vital that we see ourselves as united for this cause and others to come.
Many more will go.
Many more will go
by the way of roads.
by the way of roads.
And the ones that went before
And the
her.
ones that went before her.
Unless a course is set,
Unless a course is set,
present and direct.
present and direct.
'Cause the chill wind blows and Rose is dead. Get your laws off me, I'm not your property. Don't plan my family, I plan my own. I don't wanna be in your theocracy. Remember liberty, remember roads. Get your laws off me, I'm not your property. Don't plan my family, I plan my own. I don't wanna be in your theocracy. Remember liberty, remember roads. Get your laws off me, I'm not your property. Don't plan my family, I plan my own. I don't wanna be in your theocracy. Remember